Hi everyone, this is Ravi. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you all know, I have already started uploading YouTube videos on TRICENTIS Tosca Test Design Specialist Level 1 and 2 concepts. As part of this, my previous video, Lesson 2, I have covered some of the topics related to requirements section. So in this video session, I'm going to cover lesson 3 for the remaining topics. Coming to today's session, this is our lesson 3 on Tosca test design concepts. As I said, I will be covering some of the remaining concepts from lesson 2. So in lesson 2, I have already explained you about what does the requirement section in Tosca and how can we work on requirement section in Tosca. I have showed you how can we create requirement structure in Tosca. So in this lesson 3, I'm going to cover the remaining topics, how to perform a basic weighting of the requirements in Tosca, and how can we perform requirements weighting with frequency class and also with a damage class. So these two topics are very important for our risk-based testing proposed by Taska team. Stay tuned. Please do subscribe to the channel. Click on bell icon. You will receive notifications whenever I publish more videos on these concepts. As I told you in my previous session, Taska recommends risk-based testing. And as part of this, we need to understand what is risk weighting the requirements. What does it mean? How can you perform weighting of the requirements whenever you receive the requirements from business team? So risk weighting is a top-down process and all levels will be weighted. That means the top level of the requirements will be weighted and also the lower level of the requirements will be weighted. And risk means impact in case of failure of a particular requirement. And we have to begin testing with highest risk requirements. And there are two methods of weighting in Tosca requirements section. The first method is basic weighting and the second method is complex weighting. So I'm going to explain these two basic weighting concepts and also complex weighting concepts in this session, and then I'm going to walk you through the Taska automation tool and I will show you how can we perform these two weightings in Taska automation tool. Okay, the first method is basic weighting. So how to perform basic weighting in Tosca? So to begin with a basic weighting in Tosca, it shows the weight column in the requirements section of Tosca. So you can use column selector to make it visible in Tosca. So basically you can select the column selector and you can check the weight column so that the weight column will be visible in requirements section. So you will see the default weight for each requirement as 1, which means whenever you add the requirements in Tosca, by default the weight is being displayed as 1, which means all the requirements are weighted equally. And you have to provide the estimated values for each requirement in the set. So while providing the weightage to each requirement, you have to provide your estimated values. And you have to compare always on the same level. So let's assume you have 10 requirements. Okay. So all these 10 requirements comes under a particular parent requirement. So when you provide the weightage for all these 10 requirements for a particular parent requirement, you have to compare the weighted values within these 10 requirements. Okay, and then values from 0 to 10 scale is possible, but Tosca recommends to use the scale of 1 to 5. So values reflect lowest to highest risk. That means if you are selecting the weighted value as 1, which means less risk. If you select the weighted value as 5, that means highest risk. Hope you understand these concepts. Okay, so now as we completed theoretical concept on basic weighting, I'm going to walk you through the Taska tool and I'm going to explain you how can you perform basic weighting of the requirements in different levels. Okay, so now let's jump on to Taska tool. Okay, so let me teach you how can we perform basic weighting in Taska. Okay, so this is our Taska tool. So if I would recommend you guys to go through the previous video where we have created requirement structure, where we have created four parent level requirements. One is customer tasks, handle products, shopping cart, and order process. Under these parent requirements, we have created sub requirements. If you see here, customer task, we have register, login, modify customer data, check orders. In the same way, handle products, we have product configuration, modify products view, compare products, search products. Okay, we have two more parent requirements. Let me just add under shopping cart, let me add another sub requirement, add products, add products, and let me add another sub requirement, gift cards. If you see here on the right side, as soon as I add the requirement weight is taking by default the basic weighting. Okay, by default it is taking as 1. That means all the requirements are weighted equally. Correct? So now if I want to perform a basic weighting, how should we perform basic weighting? So first we have to, let me just collapse all these parent requirements, and now first you have to perform a basic weighting at higher level. So as I explained you in my previous video, the weighting of the requirements is a top down process. So I'm gonna weight my parent requirements first. So let me weight this as 4, and handle products I would like to weight this as 3, and then shopping cart I would like to weight this as 5, and then order products, order products also I would like to weight this as 5. Let's assume. So now you have to expand your sub requirements, and now under this you have to perform your basic weightage. I would like to weight this as 3 register requirements, and the requirement related to login I would like to weight this as 5, and then requirement related to modify customer data I would like to weight this as 2, and then check orders I would like to weight this as 2. In the same way, let me perform same activity under handle products. I would like to weight this as 4, and this one I would like to weight this as 3, and then I would like to keep compare products as 1. It's not much important for me, and then search products is important, so I would like to weight this as 3. Okay, so this way you can perform your basic weight age. Okay, one more thing, if you don't see this weight column, correct, all you need to do is right click and then select column chooser, and then here you can just select the column called weight so that it displays that column here. So now let me refresh this. Okay, let me refresh my requirements. Okay, update outdated values. As soon as I update outdated values, so if you see, contribution values are getting populated. I'll explain these contribution values in the same session at end of the video. Okay, so now for now, so this is called a basic weighting. And if you want to calculate all the, basically your requirement calculation should happen automatically, what you need to do is go to projects and then go to settings. Under settings, just wait, give a minute for, okay, under setting, if you go to commander, okay, expand this commander, under general, you have advanced. So here all I need to do is auto calculate requirements. I need to make it as on. That means calculate the values of requirement sets and requirements automatically. I need not to perform any manual calculation. When I did by right clicking and then click on update values, right? I need not perform that anymore because I have switched on automatic refresh. Okay, calculations. So now I think you understand how can we perform basic weight, correct? So now I'm going to explain about complex weighting by using frequency class and damage class in the next slide. Hope you all understand the concept. Okay, let's move forward with some theoretical topics related to complex weighting. So you all understand how to perform basic weighting by using Taska Tool. Now let's talk about complex weighting. So why do we require complex weighting and basic weighting, these both concepts? So Tosca believes in the assessment of requirements, linear scale may not provide you the distinctive values. That means if you are using the linear scale of 1 to 5, it is very difficult to distinguish between each value. So let's assume you have 100 requirements, okay, where you want to weight these 100 requirements by using 1 to 5 values. So it is really very difficult for us to distinguish between the requirements by using only these 5 values. So that's the reason the Tosca recommends a new methodology. Okay, instead of using linear scale, they would like to introduce a different scale to overcome, better to distinguish between values by using an exponential scale instead of linear scale. So to perform an exponential scale, the complex weighting helps you to distinguish the values. It's very easy for us to weight enormous number of requirements by using exponential scale. Okay, let's deep dive into complex weighting. So Tosca offers a very sophisticated methodology called complex weighting. Okay, so this complex weighting uses two values related to the business. So what are those two values? The potential financial loss associated with the failure of a requirement is called a damage class. That is first one. And what is second one? How heavily the function is being used in the application. So that is your frequency class. Basically, how frequently you are using that functionality. So we'll be using these two values to perform complex weighting. So each of these can be selected as a column. So in Tosca, if you go to the column selector, you can select a damage class as well as the frequency class so that you can see these two columns in Taska Tool. So each requirement can be assigned by these two frequency class as well as the damage class. Okay, so frequency class. So whenever you assign value to a particular requirement, you would think yourself, you would ask a question yourself, how often this functionality is used. That means how frequently this functionality is used. So you have to think in your mind and then provide the value accordingly. Coming to damage class, you would ask a question yourself, how much financial damage would incur if this functionality failed. Okay, so remember, these numbers are simply estimations comparing with the requirements to each other. So that means, see, whatever the numbers you are providing, these are the simply estimations by comparing with between the requirements. Okay, so risk weight is equal to 2 to the power of frequency multiplied by 2 to the power of potential damage. So this weight is calculated as an exponential function using a base value of 2. So that means the base value in generally Tosca uses as 2. So that means the formula for the complex weight becomes 2 to the power of frequency class multiplied by 2 to the power of damage class. So here 2 is a base value. If you see in the diagram, the formula is damage base value to the power of base class and multiplied by frequency base value to the power of frequency class. So here Tosca takes the base value by default as 2. Okay, so but however, you could manually override the weight if necessary. So in Taska Tool, as soon as you provide, let's assume you have prepared a requirement structure with 10 sub requirements. So if you provide the values of frequency class and the damage class for all these 10 requirements, the Taska automatically calculates the complex weight by using the formula which is displaying on the screen, like base value, a damage class to the power of base value to the power of damage class. In the same way, frequency base value to the power of frequency class. So Taska automatically gives you the complex weightage. But in case if you want to override the Tosca calculated value, there is an option to override by providing the value manually. So that is one advantage. And also you could also adjust the base value on properties tab for the requirement set. That means let's assume you have 10 sub requirements in a requirement set. If you want to use the base value as 3 instead of 2, you can do that. You can set the base value at requirement set level and you can change the base value from 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 or whatever the base value you would like to use. Okay, so once you provide the complex weight for all your requirements, right? How can we compare the requirements? Basically, what is the comparison of the requirements in terms of complex weighting? So there are two different ways of comparison. So in Taska Tool, there are two additional columns that you can make visible. One is relative weight, and the second one is contribution. So these two are the comparison parameters. So relative weight is weight in percentage compared on same level of the requirements. That means if let's assume you have a sub requirements under a parent requirement, then relative weight is a comparison between sub requirements or comparison between only parent requirements. Okay, so that is relative weight. What about contribution? So the contribution percentage is a weight in percentage compared to the whole set of the requirements, which means this allows you, that contribution percentage allows you to compare the whole requirement set. This shows the relative percentage of risk coverage the each requirement in requirement set. Basically it shows you the relative percentage of the risk coverage of the requirement in requirement set according to its and its parent's weight. That means the contribution percentage calculates, basically takes the consideration of the requirements itself, and also it considers the parent requirement weightage also. So that's the difference. Relative weight is, it's just a percentage compared on same level of the requirements, whereas contribution percentage is the relative percentage of the same level of requirements plus its parent requirements as well. Okay, so we can enable these two columns in Tosca so that you can easily understand what is the relative percentage of particular requirements in terms of weight and what is the contribution of particular requirements and requirement sets in terms of weightage. Okay, so now let's jump onto the system and let me show you how can we perform this weightage of the requirements by using damage class and the frequency class. So I already explained you how can you perform, I already showed you how can we perform the basic weightage of the requirements. So now I'm going to show you in Taska Tool how can you weight the requirements by using frequency class and the damage class. Let's jump onto the system. So now let me walk you through the complex weighting. How can we perform complex weight of the requirements by using frequency class and the damage class? Okay, so this is my Tosca tool. Okay, and here if you see I have an additional columns frequency class and damage class. Okay, by using column chooser I selected those two so that it can display on screen. Okay, so now here, so earlier when I'm explaining basic weight of the requirements, we have created all these sub requirements. Let me add some more extra requirements in shopping cart as another requirement. Let me add another requirement, discounts, and also let me add another requirement, manage shopping cart. Okay, so again under parent requirement called order process, let me add some sub requirements, execute checkout, another one billing and shopping address, let me add another one, calculate shipping costs, and another important one, payment methods. Okay, so now we have total four different parent requirements. Under four different parent requirements, we have created sub requirements. Okay, and earlier we already performed a basic weighting. If you see here, I can see a basic weighting. So now I would like to weight all these requirements by using frequency class and damage class. Okay, so here for everything it's top level and bottom level, correct? So first let me top to bottom. First let me perform frequency class and damage class for the parent requirements. For customer tasks, I would like to basically weight this as 4. Okay, and then for damage class 4. And here for handle products, I would like to make this as 3, and then my damage class is 4. So when you are giving this weightage, right, customer tasks, frequency class, you need to think in your mind that how frequently I'll be using this functionality. Damage class, how much impact this particular functionality is having when this requirement gets failed. So that's what you have to remember. Okay, and then for shopping cart, so because shopping cart is very important, right, your frequency is more frequency, so I want to weight this as 5, highest frequency. In the same way, damage class also very high, because if the shopping cart functionality gets failed, everything is gone. What about order process? Even ordering of the items, right? Order process is also very important, where you'll be paying the money and where you'll be ordering the product, correct? So that's why my frequency class is very high, which is 5, and damage class is also very high, which is 5. Okay, so once you complete performing, if you see here, whenever I enter the frequency and damage class, if you see the weight which we provided during basic weightage, right, I provided this as 4, but now it has been overridden by a calculated value. So what is the calculation here? If you remember, if you see, for this requirement set, my damage base value and frequency, if you see here, I clicked on requirement set. On the requirement set, if I see the properties tab, damage base value is 2 and my frequency base value is 2. Now here the weight is calculated based on the damage base value 2. That means 2 to the power of 4 multiplied by 2 to the power of 4. Correct? So base values are set as 2. So 2 to the power of frequency class weightage, which is 4, and 2 to the power of damage class 4. And then your weightage is 256. So in the same way, handle products also. 2 to the power of 3 multiplied by 2 to the power of 4, which is 128. So that's how the weightage is getting calculated. So now let's weight all the sub requirements under customer tasks. I would like to weight this as 3 and then 4. And here I would like to weight login as 5, and my damage class is 4. And then I would like to weight this as 3 and this is 2. And I have to perform this as 3 and 3. So in the same way, let me give the frequency class and damage class for all the requirements here. Okay. So here I would like to perform this as 3 and 3. And here product view, it's a 4, frequency, damage class is 2. And then here compare products, it's not a very important for me. That's why frequency class and damage class is 1 1. And here search products is 4 and here 2. So in the same way, let me weight the shopping cart functional requirements. Okay, so shopping cart requirement functionalities, add products is 3 and then my damage class is 5. And in the same way, 3 and 4, 3 and 4. And this one again 3 and 4. So remember what is your frequency class, okay, and what is your damage class. Accordingly you have to provide all the values, okay. And then order process. So let me wait, basically provide the frequency class and my damage class 3 and 5, 2 and 5, and it's 5 and 5. Calculations of the shipping cost, very important. In the same way, payment method also very important. So 5 and 5. So as soon as I provide these frequency class and damage class, your weight is getting calculated based on the formula I have explained you in my previous slide. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can just post me comments. I'll explain you more on this. Okay. So if you see here, now I can see weight. So I also explained you about relative weightage and contribution. So here I don't see the relative weight, correct? Let me just right click here, go to the column chooser, and then if you see, this is my relative weight. I want to add this. Double click on this. So relative weight has been added. If you see here, say this is the relative weight. I want to bring this to here. So if you see here, now I can see that relative weight is here and my contribution weight is here. Contribution percentage and my relative weight percentage this. So what is the difference between relative weight? I already explained. Relative weight is the weightage of comparison, percentage of the comparison within the requirement level, correct? Which is sub requirements. Whereas contribution is, it considers the weightage value of your the same level of requirements plus your parent as well. So that's how the calculation happens. Okay, let me just refresh this again, update outdated value, click OK, done. So if you see here, contribution and your, so if you see here, the contribution percentage values are different compared to your relative weight. So relative weight considers only the same level of requirement comparison, whereas contribution, it compares same level of requirements plus your parent requirement weightage as well. Okay, so hope you all understand. So for example, if I change the base value, so let me go to my requirement set demo webshop. If I change the base value as 3, then all these weights will increase, because why? 3 to the power of 4 and 3 to the power of 4. So instead of 256, the value should increase. Let me make this as 3. Okay, let me change it to 3 and let me change it to, see, immediately my weight become from 236 to 1296. If I change this again, it should increase more. See, it increased to 6561. So basically it's all depends on your organization, which value you should consider as your base value. Okay, so Tasca by default the base value sets as 2. Okay, so hope you all understand the concepts of very important topics, basic weighting of your requirements and the complex weighting of your requirements. It is very important for Tosca because Tosca gives more importance to the risk-based testing. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos on Tosca. Thank you.